Hello and welcome. I'm Len Cannon along with our investigative reporter Jeremy Rogowski here on the KHOU 11 Facebook page. And tonight we're talking about a story coming up tonight on KHOU 11 News at 10 on air. Jeremy has a story that you will find annoying and frustrating. You are talking to homeowners in a red-hot housing market who buy their dream homes, have it built, and they get right to the finish line and stuff starts...
Whack! They get hit with a 2x4,
they
so to
get
speak.
whacked. Yeah, exactly. So explain to the viewers what is happening here at the very end that is so frustrating.
Well, let's set the stage first. You said it. It is a hot real estate market, and it's a seller's market. What do we mean by that? We mean lots of buyers, low inventory. So that supply-demand kind of scale is really tilted, and it's tilted in favor of the builders. They are in the driver's seat. So, to answer your question, would-be home buyers chasing their dream, right?
Right.
Biggest purchase of their life. They sign the dotted line, they enter into a contract, they put down their earnest money, and they watch the thing go up. Construction's underway. They're exciting. It's a great time. They're picking out the colors and the flooring and the cabinets and everything that goes into that. And then somewhere along the timeline, a lot of times, right near closing, Len, they get the rug pulled right out from under them.
That would be so annoying.
What happens? The builder actually cancels the contract. But before they do that, they demand more money.
And they demand more money for what?
First of all, they're demanding thousands of dollars more, 10,000, 20,000, upwards of that. So we're not talking chump change here. And they're saying that, hey, we've had increased building materials costs in the pandemic, supply chain issues, there's labor shortages, we have all these extra costs. So they go to the would-be buyer and they say, hey, we need $10,000 more, we need $20,000 more, take it or leave it. And a lot of people, when they're staring at that, they've budgeted and there's no more wiggle room. And so they say, we can't do it. And the builder cancels the contract.
All right, so is this unethical, illegal, what?
Well, if you ask the would-be buyer who just got their contract ripped up, they think it's all of the above.
Got it.
Whether it is illegal, it all comes down to the fine print, right?
Oh, this is the fine print that you always got to check.
So here's a contract. It's about 20 pages long. Get your magnifying glass out, right?
All right.
The clauses in a lot of these, they're written, these contracts are, Len, very one-sided, slanted in favor of the builder.
Got it.
And so in the contract, there is language that you can find that says something to the effect of the seller's right to terminate without default. And they list everything under the sun.
From delays
Sudden
and cost changes.
Yeah, labor shortages, this, that, or the other, and it gives them that kind of escape hatch, that window to jump out of the contract.
Now, I would think that, because having done this in my lifetime with various things, and sometimes you just kind of, you read a contract and you gloss over certain things. And I would think some people are kind of like, oh, well, that's not going to happen.
Well, not only that, but sometimes people just don't read it. It's a lot of legalese. It's a lot of, over a lot of people's heads. But here's the kicker, all this, and I don't want this to get lost. So they demand, the builder does, thousands of dollars more. And if the buyer says, no, we can't do it, the contract gets ripped up. But what's happening is, at a later time, sometimes the very next day, the builder is putting the home back on the market, relisting the home. Not for the increase it was telling that original buyer, but maybe double that or triple that.
Okay, so wait a minute. So if the increase to the buyer was about the sudden cost, but then they relist it and it's even more than what they said the extra cost was, then what's the extra money?
Well, that's the question. And if you ask the builders that we interviewed, that you're going to see at 10, they think it's a money grab. They think it's all about greed. Because if the builder was just trying to recoup those supposed additional costs,
why raise it more?
Why double it on the open market? Well, the market bears that because, again, bone dry inventory, huge demand. So it's really what many call a troubling practice that's popping up.
Yeah. So I want people who are watching us on our KHOU 11 Facebook page, if you have any questions, if you've experienced this yourself, or you want to know, well, what do I do in a situation like this? Hit us up on our Facebook page and we can discuss it, because as you said, the market has been red hot for a while now. People keep saying, well, there's a bubble coming. Well, it is not here yet.
Yeah.
So what I'm wondering is, you know how when you buy a house and you go with a lender and you can cap for a certain amount of time the interest rate you're going to pay.
Right.
Right? Can't you go in with a builder and say, okay, this is what we've agreed to, let's cap it until we get to closing?
Well, the buyer, who's most of the time not an attorney, thinks that a contract's a contract.
Right.
I signed it. It's an agreement between one side and the other side. But again, the fine print comes into play. So we interview these consumer complaints through the Better Business Bureau. I've known Dan Parsons, longtime president over there for 2 decades now. I said, Dan, what can consumers do? He's like, listen, pay an attorney. It doesn't have to be a specialized real estate attorney, but just somebody who's familiar with contracts.
To eyeball it.
To eyeball it. If it costs you $500, $1,000, it's worth it, he says. Now, is that builder going to say, oh, we'll remove this clause entirely, or we're going to rewrite the contract? Maybe, most likely not. But according to the Better Business Bureau and others out there who are aware of this practice, there may be some opportunity to negotiate. There may be some wiggle room to get some protections in there. In other words, maybe there's a cap at what they can increase.
Right.
Because the supply chain and the pandemic issues are real. Nobody's quarreling with that. But again, are they really just trying to recoup those costs, or do they see, hey, the open market is red hot, we can make all more of this money?
And with a market that hot, I want to repeat this because I've experienced this. The folks who are selling you things are not your friend. They're in it to make money. And if at the last minute it means they can pull the rug out from under you, sometimes they will, as hard as that is to swallow.
Now, it's important to be fair. Let's not broad brush, right?
Okay.
Because we review these consumer complaints, and they're not across the board. A couple of certain builders are popping up, but how many builders are there in the Houston area?
Untold numbers.
Yeah, certainly dozens, if not hundreds, right? And so it's not a industry-wide practice. So then it raises the question, well, why are some builders pulling this shenanigan and others aren't? The one couple we interviewed tonight who had a bad deal, a deal goes south, wound up going with another builder, and everything went smooth in the same red-hot market.
So I'm curious, I wonder if they went with another builder, if they did anything about the fine print in the contract, or was it even necessary?
That's a good question. I don't know how much, deeper they looked at things.
Because if it were me, I would be like, look,
Right.
okay, this time I'm either hiring a lawyer or I'm saying, can we either change this
Sure.
or lock it in or put a cap on how much it can go up?
Don't know the specifics of that, but I do know the outcome, and the outcome was that second builder they went with, smooth sailing. And so I think the takeaway from that is, do your homework, go online, look at the Better Business Bureau. If you're going with builder XYZ, look them up, see other people's experiences. This is the biggest purchase of your life by far, right?
And so, but clearly what part of the thing here is, if you look from the builder's perspective, the market is in a place that is, it's advantageous to them. They can sell at prices that they never thought they could, say maybe 4 years ago, all right? So suddenly, hey, now even with my extra costs and everything, I can do really well. So to be fair, they're just simply saying, look, I'm sorry, but the contract allows this. If you cannot pay, we'll relist it,
And again, if you talk to many observers, we're talking about a one-sided affair going in.
Right.
So be aware of that, be cognizant of that, have a trained set of eyes, look at it to spot the red flags, to eyeball it, as you say, and at a minimum, raise that issue with the builder
going in.
Absolutely.
Before anything gets built.
And if they're ironclad and they dig in their heels and say, this is it, take it or leave it, well, better on the front end than getting your hopes and your dreams all worked up only to be shattered near the end.
Absolutely. So once again, if you have any questions about what we're seeing, a few cases that Jeremy is talking about where people are building homes, and at the very end, before closing, the builder says, you need more money to come up with, my costs have changed, delays, et cetera, reach out on our KHOU 11 Facebook page. If we miss you here live and take some of the questions, and Jeremy will be following the page here even before the 10 o'clock to be able to answer some of your questions. My mother used to say, and I love this phrase, you talk about like getting information up front so maybe you can make changes. You have not because you ask not. So it's good to ask.
Yes, indeed.
Even if they balk, you know, at least you know where they stand and you know where you stand and you make a decision whether we're going to.
So you're not blindsided.
You're not blindsided.
Right.
You know.
Erica writes in, this is what I'm in the process of doing right now. I close at the end of May. This is terrifying to me. Erica, we hope you watch and we hope our comments are helpful to you.
Read that contract, Erica.
Selling inflated to buy inflated, another comment. It's all stupid. Heather writes in.
Selling inflated to buy inflated.
This is very scary. Someone else writes in. So, it appears here initially that other people have gone down this road or certainly fear going down this road. So, again, as Len said, we'll be monitoring the Facebook page, and to the extent we can answer your questions, we'll be doing so over the next hour.
You know, it's unfortunate, but the market dictates a lot of things. You and I have been in Houston long enough to have seen the market turn upside down, and then builders are like, what else do you want? What else can I do for you? But the game has changed now. And
well,
it's like
and it's not just homes, right? Not to go off on a tangent.
This is everything.
But, buy a new car right now, and it used to be how much lower than MSRP can I get, and now
right.
You're lucky to get it at the manufacturer's suggested real price.
Market realities.
Indeed, indeed. So all the more reason to beware and to protect yourself.
All right, so be sure to watch Jeremy's investigative piece tonight on KHOU 11 News at 10. He'll be following your questions on our Facebook Live, so send the questions in and get updates and real good answers, and we'll see you at 10.